everyone, welcome to Primetime Crisis. I am Captain Logan, and with me today is the real Manos.
Hey, folks.
Manos!
How you doing?
Welcome back!
Hey, yeah, it's great to be back.
It's so exciting. In the words of Tony Stark, it's great to be back. It's good to be back.
Oh, man, you redecorated for me? This place looks great.
Yeah, we were going to dust. We just didn't have time. But everything else...
That's fine. For those of you who are watching this, I'm actually sitting in the living room. It's kind of nice. It's got a nice mini fridge.
Oh, Manos, you lie really well. Like, your lying sounds so good. So today, if you're not actually if you're just listening, there's no reason to watch because we're not actually on screen, and that's what Manos is talking about. Today, we're broadcasting from the Fortress of Solitude. And today, Manos and I are going to talk about the second season of Supergirl. We're going to do a bit of an overview for you, and sort of like Eric and I did with Gotham, except we only did the last 8 episodes of that, and Manos and I are doing the entire season of Supergirl. When I was doing the single episode reviews, which I had to quit doing just because it's too much now. There's so many shows. There's not enough time in my week. So we're gonna do these as overviews now, as many of them and as often as we can get to them. I don't want to make any giant promises, but I'd like to do. I'm front loading the shows I really like, and then other shows I'll do when I can get to them. But anyway, so I knew Manos had been watching the show and asked him if he'd talk about this with me. And Manos, I really appreciate you coming on because I was going to do this on my own and I didn't want to have to be a windbag for an hour. It's really nice to have somebody to chat with.
Oh, I agree. When I have a video like that where I spend a long time talking, I go, man, this guy is like talking a lot. Wait, that's me. And so it's good to always discuss things with somebody. And I'm really happy to be on the channel. It's been a few weeks, so it's good to get in a good long conversation, specifically just with you and without the show, because I haven't talked about the show much at all publicly.
No, I mean we were covering it when we were doing the live Crisis shows.
Yeah.
And we would, I think that's because we never did this as its own discussion show. This show came out late enough, we had already stopped doing the weekly discussions for different shows. And had gotten to the Sunday live show. So you and I have talked back and forth a little bit about season 1, but I don't think we've gotten to chat at all about 2, because no, definitely not, because I remember when Hulkman's first couple episodes with playing Superman, I covered that on my own. And anyway, so I got to about the midpoint of the season, maybe, I don't know, maybe only 8 or 9 episodes in, actually, and then I dropped off, and now I've come back and watched all of this, and Manos, I have to say, just right out the gate, the first thing I gotta say, and this is something I mentioned at the beginning of the season, but I think it holds true all the way through. I don't see any difference in production quality from the move to CW.
No, I don't. It's actually seamless and thankful, because that was one of the things that was concerned when it made that jump. I thought it was going to look a little cheaper,
and I thought magically the other shows would affect the writing. I really did. I thought second season of this show it was going to immediately start to drop to the quality that I feel like Arrow and even Flash have wound up in. And I also have to say, I don't think it has that problem. It's not the most brilliant thing on TV. It's still pretty cheesy. It's still got its Lois and Clarkness, which honestly sometimes is my favorite thing about it. But it's still at least a couple of rungs above those shows and above the other CW shows. I say with the exception of iZombie, but that's not in this multiverse. But as far as just the other DC superhero shows. But Manos, I don't know if you agree with this. I'd go as far as to say I think this episode is actually quite a bit better than the first, or this season is actually quite a bit better than the first season.
Oh, I would agree with that. I liked the first season a lot, but I think this was superior. I think it climbed up on top of what the first season did, and just built a really good storyline off it. I think it was really well done.
One thing I really appreciate about it is it doesn't seem obsessed with being bigger.
That's a good observation. Yes, it's trying to not outdo it with a bigger situation. I think what it's trying to do, I think maybe possibly more accurate would say it's expanding upon the world, and we're getting to understand a little bit more.
Yeah, although I would, and again, I talked about this in my separate video, my solo videos, but I do think it's somewhat of a relaunch at the beginning. It's the same show, but it's having to tweak some things, and it's not like straight up retconning anything, but like it's a different show in the sense that it establishes kind of a new status quo at the beginning where there's not anything from last season that really changed it and got us there. Like this subculture of aliens, I didn't have any sense that was there last season.
They did definitely go. They did definitely double down on that this season.
I don't think it's a major problem. I think some of it is circumstantial. You know what I mean? I think some of what they've changed about it is because of the move to Vancouver. Obviously, that's the reason that Cat Grant's not there all the time, which for my money is kind of honestly a good move. I'm not her biggest fan. I think she's utilized better this season. I think she's better in small doses. I kind of like that she's not a regular anymore. Personally, but no, I mean, like obviously the new DEO is different because they had to build a new set, so it's a little bit silly that we just had this other one that was above ground all this time. It's really funny.
Oh man, it's like when Aquaman found out there was like a civilization under his underwater civilization. Like, oh yeah, this thing.
Really? Is that a thing? That's great.
I think that happened in something. But I feel like I have to say that a lot as a geek. Like, I feel that happened somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, they definitely. I don't remember so much talk about alien civilization living on Earth as much in the first season. It focused a little bit on Kara's journey, kind of like establishing herself as like a new hero. And I think this season picks up on a lot of different themes and storylines and ideas, but it continues the ones it had, specifically Kara's journey as a hero actually. And what's so nice about it is you're kind of following all these other kind of stories. You don't even really think about it till it kind of sews up at the end, where she calls herself, where she takes the mantle champion of Earth versus Rhea. So that's kind of a nice way of sewing it back together. I mentioned this to you briefly, and I was reminded a lot of the first season or the third season, however you want to call it, of Justice League when it became Justice League Unlimited, where it was sort of like a reboot of the show with the same continuity, and it's continuing the show, where it had a very kind of serious political story it wanted to tell, and it also has Cadmus. Good Lord.
I mean, Cadmus is a different thing from what it was in that show.
True, yeah, but I mean, Cadmus. I don't know. It just struck me as like halfway through the season, I was like, this reminded me. This is really tight. And it's kind of reminded.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, halfway through the season, I was like, so far this is really tight, and it's got a message. And it's got Cadmus. It's like, oh, hey, man, this is like Justice League Unlimited, the Cadmus season.
That is exactly the word I was going to use. Is the narrative is certainly much tighter than it was last season. It doesn't feel as meandery, and as you said, it ties its ideas up pretty nicely by the end, I think. And there's obviously this kind of ongoing notion of people being expected to be a certain way based on wherever they're from or what their species is or their nationality or whatever. And the message is obviously, you can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't judge people by just where they came from. But at the same time, it's more complicated than that because it can be very difficult to fight against your nature or your upbringing or whatever it is. And I really like that. And there are some things here or there that I think are more heavy-handed than they have to be, kind of typical TV stuff. But I feel like, but I don't feel like that's one of them. I mean, I think it was actually pretty thoughtful in the way it reflects that idea and has a lot of different characters having to kind of fight against expectations and even bigotry in because of different kinds of things. It's not all just you're an alien. So for some of them it's the planet they come from. For some of it it's the family that they're a part of. This was a good place to do a Luthor, certainly. And also I'll tack on while I'm there. She is channeling Rosenbaum hard, and I like her a lot.
Isn't she wonderful? I wasn't sure if I would like her.
Me neither. But
boy,
I dug her by the end. Now, one thing I got a question is, and maybe this is a slow burn. They are clearly they were about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through, trying to make us think that maybe she was already doing some kind of, not like evil machinations, but had like some kind of a chess game going on against Lillian and Luthor. And by the end, that hasn't panned out yet. So I don't know where we're going with that. But like, they make it really, they try to make us think that, you know, she's just, you know, an upstanding citizen, and then after the second time we deal with her mom, we end with that kind of ominous chess scene.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know where we're going with this, and we're not there yet. So I'm assuming, and I hope it's not too obvious, but I'm assuming that we're gonna do the exact same thing we always do with Clark and Lex, where she is destined to be Supergirl's greatest enemy, and she's going to try really hard to fight against that, but she's not ultimately going to be able to.
Well, we'll see that. And, you know, what would make that tragedy more intense is the fact that we have seen them develop pretty tight friendship during the course of the season, where they were first antagonistic towards each other when they first met in the first couple episodes. And then we definitely did see them kind of grow and bond and figure out how to relate to each other, to the point where they were like really risking each other's they were risking their own lives for each other constantly throughout the season. Like, I mean, Supergirl stays on the ship at the end where she could have just teleported, but no, she wanted to, like, you know, she wanted to go and save her. And it's just I don't know, it's just, we'll see. It would be all the more tragic if that happens. One of the things I like so much about this season was the fact that, yeah, obviously, the subject of racism is the, like, number one, you know, kind of thematic story arc going on in the story. And what I like so much about it is we have two big bads of this season. We have Lillian and Luthor for the first half of the season, and then Ray, Queen of Daxam, in the second half. And one would think that they're probably, you know, opposite sides of the spectrum, because, you know, Lillian Luthor wants to, like, get rid of all aliens, and, you know, Ray is obviously an alien invader. But they're both mothers who are motivated into racism against Supergirl, oddly enough.
Yeah, sure.
And it poisons their whole thought process, to the point where they're really bitter and evil. And, you know, they are not budging on their goals, neither one of them. Which is interesting how Lillian is brought in at the end to help combat her. It's like, yeah, you're kind of the same person, just from different planets.
Yeah, and she kind of knows it and doesn't mind that, and, like, owns it. And
yeah,
and by the end, I kind of like that bit where she's standing next to Supergirl, and she's like, you know, and again, such cheesy comic dialogue. At the end of this, we're gonna be enemies. Yes, we are. We sure are.
I love the fact that I thought they did a fantastic job working with the theme of racism, because it's so easy to be cartoonish with that and self-righteous about that when you're discussing this theme, or to be like, sometimes when people try, they fail when they're really thoughtless on people's other points of view. But I thought they kind of, like, did as best they could to, you know, range from different sides of the subject. We got to see the point of view from average Earthlings, aliens who are just trying to get by and, you know, live on Earth, or, you know, and some aliens who are bad guys. And also the fact that what I thought was really impressive was, in the beginning of the season, we dealt with a little bit of prejudice from Supergirl, when she didn't want to trust any Daxam. And she had to be kind of convinced that Mon-El was not like what she thought. And I thought that was kind of brave. I mean, a lot of times when we deal with the subject of racism, our hero, you know, is completely unracist, you know, to a fault. And, like, no, she had some of that in her, that, you know, she was not willing to trust this guy. until she saw for herself that she was wrong about him. I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, and I want to say we should broaden the theme to intolerance in general, I think.
Yeah.
Because certainly we're dealing with the same idea with the way people are treating the Luthors. And I like that by the time, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm as impressed with the way that that's initially handled with Carr and Mon-El, because it feels like a little bit too easy of a character arc in one episode. But one thing I do really like about it is that once you get to her relationship with Lena Luthor, I feel like that really informs why she doesn't jump the gun and is like, you must be just like Lex.
That's a good comparison. Without throwing in, the race factor of it, being prejudiced against someone because they're part of a group. That's actually an insightful idea.
So I think that was pretty well handled. Early on in the season, we get away from it some. I feel like we do kind of have this problem, and I talked about this when I was reviewing these separately, of in struggling to have singular episodes while having a broad storyline throughout the season. Sometimes I feel like the character arcs that Carr goes through are a little bit too easy, and we almost have to sometimes like backpedal her a little bit just that she like learns the lesson of the episode. But we start to get away from that some by the end. But I think toward the end, the problem the show starts to have is that it's an ensemble cast show before it's a singularly driven show, and of course all these superhero shows have kind of become that. And toward the end, until you get to the last two episodes, I kind of start to lose her a little bit. I started being kind of more invested in other characters' stories, and I felt like Carr was almost put too far in the background in the last like 4 or 5 episodes. I don't mean I lost her in that I wasn't sympathetic towards her. I mean like the show kind of forgot about its protagonist a little bit.
I am just thankful that I don't know. Sometimes with some superhero shows, I've not been very much invested in the other characters. That's one of the things I really like, because like when
that is a testament to the show, is that when that happens, it's because I'm liking other characters.
Because good lord, I mean, in the episode where Lillian tries to forcibly kidnap like innocent aliens on the planet and like ship them to wherever. I mean, a couple of them are just random characters we've been seeing.
Yeah.
Like the girl Wynn was starting to date. I'm like, oh no, not her.
Yeah, Lyra. And I found myself surprisingly really liking her by the end.
Me too. I wasn't sure where that was going. I was like, okay, she's gonna betray him and do something. I'm like, no. And actually,
and she does, but then they actually are able to work out by the end. Don't you feel like though that we get to a point where we keep flipping that script that it starts to get almost kind of expected?
Yes. I'm always relieved if it doesn't happen.
No, and that's nice, but they started to rely on it a little bit.
They do it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have some minor nitpicks, but to be honest, it's more related to kind of just overall method of writing on CW shows seeps in. It actually seeped in a lot less this season, but there's still some of that.
Unfortunately, I think the place we get it the most is with Alex.
Maybe, but that's actually been the most consistent relationship through.
No, and that's
through
good.
The season, so I think that's probably why.
No, it's not a bad relationship. It's just I feel like she's written almost out of character some, because she's gotta have her emotions on her sleeve so much because of the kind of show it is, and because what she's going through. And I totally get that, like she's finally finding herself and figuring out her sexuality and all of that, but I feel like she brings it to work too much. And I had that a little bit first season, but like if you think about her job and what she does, she's a black ops operative. I don't buy how much she's wearing her emotions on her sleeve.
Yeah, and her girlfriend could just walk in. Did she just roll in?
Yeah, that is a huge problem with the DEO.
Anybody listening to this, if you work for the Pentagon, can your boyfriend or girlfriend just walk in and say hello?
Well, I don't get the sense that there are clearances in the DEO. I feel like everyone that works there has top level clearances. How is it that every person that works there knows that Kara is Supergirl?
Yeah,
Have
it's
you
like
noticed this?
I have noticed that.
And they're inconsistent about it, because there are places where they talk about it. Like, toward the end of the season, there's a bit where they go down the list of everyone who knows who she is. And actually, you know what, come to think of it, maybe they're not getting consistent. I think actually they even in that list maybe even mention, oh, and everyone who works at the DEO. And I'm like, no, that is too many people. And I also get the sense that everyone who works there maybe even knows that Clark Kent is Superman, and that is not okay.
Yeah, it's like Clark Kent is now the Daredevil of this universe. Like, everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Hey, let's talk about Superman for a minute.
Oh, okay,
let's talk about Daredevil. Let's
okay.
switch gears.
All right. May I start?
Yes, go right ahead.
Let me start with this. We were talking about how so we're in agreement. This season we like overall a little better than last season.
Yeah.
Superman hurts that season hard.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, last season. Superman hurts last season hard. Like, the fact that he's not there from the beginning, and that they hilariously, in the last episode of last season, have to, like, bring him in off screen and find some way to, like, intoxicate him real fast, and you see, like, his feet and stuff.
Yeah.
And now we actually have him in the show. No, it's going to make it really hard to go back and watch those episodes in first season, I think.
It's going to be... Yeah, he was almost becoming sort of like, Charlie from Charlie's Angels or Vera from Cheers, like that character everyone talks about but you don't see.
And here's the thing. The argument was always, oh, it's her story. I'm like, okay, fine, then don't have stories that require Superman to be there. Like that was the big issue last season, is they're dealing with, and I don't mean to complain too much about last season when we're talking about this season, but this is a testament to this season. When it makes sense for him to show up at the end, he's there.
Yeah.
And before he shows up, she's not dealing with a worldwide problem, or B, anything to do with the House of L. And it really bugged me last season that you've got his family trying to rule the world, and he's nowhere to be found.
True.
That's preposterous. Like, like they try to make it like somehow rather that is more Supergirl's problem than it is Superman's. No, it's all about the House of L. That's really dumb.
And you're wondering, yeah.
Happily, we didn't have that problem this season, and so it seems like if we'd had the same mentality this season that we had through the whole season, even without Superman, it probably would have worked better, because they told stories that do feel more like her story.
Well, it just feels more relaxed now that we can have actual Superman show up and interact.
Yeah, precisely.
Outside of, like, geez, we can't get Mrs. Columbo in this episode, so...
If he hadn't been there in the last episode, I would have cried foul real hard.
I would have been I was like, oh man, he better show up, right? He's going to show up, because this is an invasion, so he needs to show up. And, I mean, he's not fighting his villains, because they're all in Supergirl's show, so...
Yeah, right. I wanted to ask you about that. When he brings up Warworld, I'm like, I really would like a list of the characters you know about and the ones we still haven't dealt with in the show that we're gonna make the first time anyone's dealt with them.
Yeah, like who are you fighting? Are you fighting Luthor and Zod and that Robert Vaughn guy from Superman 3? Is that all you fight?
Doesn't it feel a little generic? I mean, like, Superman's, because we're making a Superman show, but with Supergirl, and we want to have the Rose Gallery, and I get that, and that's totally cool, but it kind of feels like the Superman side of this show would be really boring.
Let me ask...
Like, if you did a Superman show set in this universe, even if you went a few years ago, you'd be like, okay, here's a laundry list of all the characters that are off the table. We can never have Mxyzptlk, we can never have Metallo, we can never have Parasite. Like, half his rogues are off the table.
Let me ask you this, because you've read a lot more Supergirl than I have. Does she have a list of villains that they could go to?
Yeah, she's got a few here and there, but I feel like we've kind of done some of them. I mean, like she deals with... Okay, so most of what we do is we commandeer characters from Superman's Rogues Gallery, and we make them bigger characters in her book.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing like we did with Flash Thompson Venom, where you take smaller characters and you make them a big deal for Venom, like a Jack-o'-lantern. So we did that, and we've already done these, like we did it with Livewire. I think that's been done in the comics, and we did it with Silver Banshee, and she's been in the show now too. And they even did wasn't it those two they crossed over at one point?
I think so.
I think they made them a team at one point. Yeah, so those seem to be kind of the big Supergirl villains, and then and then obviously Zor-El sometimes in 52 anyway. And because in 52 Zor-El is Cyborg Superman, which honestly I kind of wish they'd done in the show. But we'll talk about Cyborg Superman because that will be the part where I will not be able to stop laughing, and you'll have to stop me and just start talking because I won't be able to stop laughing.
Sure, we'll go on.
Because it's hilarious.
All right, barring all that, what do you think of their portrayal of Superman?
He's great.
I absolutely
He's great.
Love him, and it actually, I almost feel like tearing up. I mean, it really strikes me emotionally when I see him in scenes.
The reverence that show and the characters in that show have for him is just wonderful.
It is absolutely stunning. Like,
and it feels like they're really turning their nose up at what Snyder's done with it.
It does. Like, the DCEU, whether you like it or not, has basically thrown Superman as a character under the bus.
So far, I mean, I want to think there's hope down the road. We finally got a great movie, and they made a good Superman movie, and they called it Wonder Woman. Hopefully down the, it's also still a good Wonder Woman movie. I'm just saying, but
But so far, so far before Justice League, if you're watching this, I haven't seen Justice League yet because it hasn't come out. But so far.
Me neither. I haven't been to the future yet. I didn't get my time machine and go watch. Yeah.
Yes, future people listening to this.
I have a time machine that we've used to do the pop culture yearbook, but it only goes backwards. It doesn't go forward.
Oh man, what a piece of crap. But anyway, I just the reference for this character. I wish, God, I wish Henry Cavill was acting as Superman in such a production that cared about Superman. Because I love this version of Superman, and it's obvious, he's treated with such respect, and he is such a nice, wonderful guy, and it doesn't act like that's a problem. Yeah. He doesn't feel like he acts guilty for helping people.
No, he feels like a real person.
He feels like a person.
And he talks about how difficult it is to juggle everything, and she's like, how do you do this? How do you make it so easy? He said, well, it's not easy.
And it's
really super hard, and I don't know how to juggle everything. I'm a little on the fence about some of what they do with him at the end, but the portrayal I like a lot.
Yeah, the portrayal I like a lot. And yeah, he's not treated like a stereotypical goody two-shoes boring character either. And he's not like this menacing, grimacing guy who just feels guilty about helping people. I mean, he's Superman. He's the way I want to see him portrayed. And
is it going too far or too silly to say that he's a cross between Christopher Reeve and Dean Cain?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what he is, because he's in an almost as cheesy show as Lois and Clark, and he's but he's got kind of that presence.
Yeah.
I was a little bit I didn't care initially with the casting and then seeing him in action that he's as young as he is. Because I feel like this would be a Superman that would be a little bit older just because he's been around as long as he has. But I mean, you can argue a Superman that doesn't age, so this is just the age he got stuck at, I guess.
That's a good default.
That's an okay default. I would have much preferred like a 35-year-old Superman, or like a 30-year-old Superman. But okay, he probably is that old, but I like him to look a little older. But at the same time, if it's on the CW and it's a Superman show, which means it'll be on for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
So if he keeps coming in, then it makes sense to err on the side of being younger.
Well, if we're dealing with the typical like Superman lore, then Cat Grant kind of was part of his generation. They're probably the same age or close to the same age.
That's a good point.
So yeah, if you think about Cat Grant, like she was about around their same age in Lois and Clark.
Yeah, sure.
So now she's like in her. I don't know. I guess in her 50s.
Grant's got to be in her 40s or pushing 50. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I think we do get kind of a timetable for how long Superman's been around, but I just don't remember what it is.
Well, if you just use Kara, like she showed up when she was like 12 or 13 or 15.
Yeah.
And now she's like maybe mid 20s, so that's at least 10 years.
Yeah.
That's at least what I've been doing.
Yeah, well, and they've got an older Jimmy Olsen.
Yes.
Like if he met Jimmy Olsen when he was as young as Jimmy Olsen usually is, then it's got to be at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's probably
absolutely.
maybe late teens or something like that. Because that guy looks like he's 25, 30.
Yeah. Yeah, man, all with the first couple episodes, all the references that they do. I've talked about this a little before, but all the references that they do to standard Superman stuff, I think works pretty well. It's not and isn't too silly or old hat. They I don't know. They're obviously so excited to be there, and for a minute are kind of making a Superman show, and it feels like the Superman show we never got to see.
Yeah, it's like has effects, and it's not trying to like dodge around the fact that we can't afford to do this. Like, no, I mean, I guess that's the miracle of modern digital effects.
Yeah, but they're at least not overextending themselves, right? I mean, they're ambitious, but they do things they can make look good.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I think they understand what they can do and make it look good, and kind of
with
cheap.
the exception of the last blow, which I think is a little bit laughable. That fight between them when he thinks she's Zod is really cool.
That was really impressive.
And I also kind of dug how it felt a little bit like and you know how much of a Death of Superman fan I am. It felt a little bit like a Superman versus Doomsday fight, where she beats him, but she's also exhausted and falls over at the end.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of that comic book story where Maxwell Lord makes Superman think Wonder Woman is Doomsday.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
And they start fighting like crazy. That's when Wonder Woman like famously snaps Maxwell Lord's neck to snap Superman out of it.
Well, we do the same thing with Injustice and the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know you probably don't know anything about, but
that's a video game, right?
Well, and a comic series, and a really good comic series, might I add. But yeah, he thinks Lois is Doomsday and kills her when she's pregnant, and then he goes crazy and becomes a despot.
Well, I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Oh yeah, no, but like it's an alternate
definitely
universe.
Changed the tone.
Oh sure, but like it's an alternate universe, Elseworlds kind of thing. But I couldn't help but think about that a little bit at the end with that speech about how he doesn't know what he would do if it was Lois.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've seen Injustice. I hope that never happens, because I know what some version of Superman.
Oh man, I don't know. I wonder if this season, some of the writing in the season dealt with like some of the ways that Superman has been portrayed.
Yeah, it does. And isn't it kind of interesting? I mean, we're jumping around a lot, but isn't it kind of interesting that Reyes, and I don't know how intentional this is, and some people might even consider this kind of too much of a ripoff, but like Reyes' plot at the end is just Zod and Man of Steel.
Yeah, a little bit. Although that's not that unique of a plot. It's so.
No, it's certainly not. But I'm just saying, like it hasn't been that long ago. I mean, she is kind of Zod from Man of Steel.
Yeah, she is.
She's gonna take Earth and turn it into Daxam, and she's not terraforming, but she's gonna take all the Daxamites and put them there.
Yeah, well, she's gonna try the nice route, like, hey, look, I'm more powerful than you, so I'm gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
Hey, when do you want to talk about Linda Carter?
I don't know. We could do that right now. Although I know that's a place you and I are gonna disagree with a little bit.
Oh no. Let's see. Hey, actually, before we get to that,
sure.
We see these hooded characters, like we're looking for Mon-El, and like I think, like, oh yeah, he's really the prince and stuff like that. He was lying. I didn't know that when they pulled their hoods off, they were going to be Terry Hatcher and Kevin Sorbo.
I know. It was great.
And I lost it. I was really, I was like, oh my god, it's Terry Hatcher. They got Terry Hatcher in the show.
Yeah, and what's really funny about it is that Sorbo immediately feels like stunt casting, and then I'm like, wait, he's never been involved in anything Superman at all. Like there's so much stunt casting this season, and I guess that is too just because he was really big at the same time Lois and Clark was big, and he's a big muscular Superman type character. But I was talking to Eric about this, and I was like, yeah, they did all this crazy stunt casting. They had Kevin Sorbo, and Eric just looks at me and goes, what does that have to do with Superman? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
Didn't he famously audition for Superman and Lois and Clark? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they did that.
There you go. That's why. I'm just sorry that we didn't get a scene between her and Kane.
Me too. I'm sorry about a lot of things with Kane.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like he got the short end of the stick hard.
Maybe, but it beats hosting another reality show about UFOs. So.
Oh no, I know, but there's some massive missed opportunities with him. We'll get there.
Oh yeah, but man,
with what he has to do, he's great. And well, hey, you don't have to go to other non-scripted shows. All you got to do is go to his one appearance in Smallville, where he's just a an immortal like mustache twirling villain that has nothing to do with Superman at all. And yeah, no, what they do with him here is way more respectful and way better than that. But but I don't know. So we'll get there.
Yeah, but long story short, I flipped out when I saw Terry Hatcher. And
yeah, me too. And I was afraid that she was going to be kind of wasted because I mean, Sorbo doesn't get a lot to do, and then she murders him, and then after that, you know, she gets to actually shine a little bit, and she certainly is super mustache twirly.
Yeah,
and,
a little, yeah.
And real over the top, but she's having so much fun with it, and it is that kind of show, and I think it knows it, and I think it's okay. I think it works all right.
I think the show knows when to give us multi-layered villains that we can sympathize with, and when to just go for it, just go nuts with it, and have them twirl their mustaches and go hoo ha ha, and like I'm super evil. Like it knows when. That's what I really like about the show. It has so many layers to that. Like, you know, if it was just multi-layered villains or just cartoon villains, I'd get bored really quickly. So well, maybe not quickly, but I would get bored eventually. And this season really threw the mix in, I thought, really well.
Yeah, and I think it did a really good job of having, some okay one-shot villains, and then some bad guys that are over quite a few episodes. And like I said, it struck that balance. I think best of all of these superhero shows. I'm confident in saying of all of them, I haven't seen the latter half of most of the other CW shows yet.
Yeah. But
I feel like it's struck the best balance of doing singular one and done episodes inside of a longer multi-episode arc. I didn't need Roulette though. That wasn't very good.
It was fine. I'm not going to defend that, but
the second episode she's in is pretty good. I mean, I don't like her that much, but Wynn getting to go to another planet through a Stargate was really fun.
That was fantastic. And by the way,
he remains one of my favorite characters. He's so great.
I adore Wynn, and shifting him from the Catco office to the DOE was a brilliant move. He's so well used in universe and as a character. I absolutely adore every scene he's in.
He strikes me as what they think they're doing with Cisco on Flash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he's that character if he wasn't irritating.
Mm.
and also going to the DEO was really smart because that way we don't have two sets of guys in chairs. Because we had people like running point at the DEO, but then also Wynn and Jimmy Olsen running point at Catco. I was like, there's too much of that going on. We've got to dwindle this down to one thing.
I'm really glad they did that.
Yeah, me too.
And I think he pulls off his character so well. He puts a lot of humanity in that character, and he sells lines and he sells that character. Or I think a lesser actor may have come off a little annoying.
I think so too. I'm hoping next season we get to see him have to deal with his dad again, because that is one of the creepiest and most interesting Toymans ever.
Mm. That's single. For some reason, quite good. That one is as well.
I'm sorry, Manos, you cut out there for a second. What was that?
Oh, I said that's a pretty good accomplishment considering what we've had at Toyman.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's not like I've seen every Toyman, but I was very impressed with their Toyman.
I think my favorite Toyman is still the Bud Cort one from Superman the Animated Series.
Oh, well, yeah. Sure.
I adore that one. But, I mean, I really like the one in the...
of live-action Toymans, he's got to be the best.
Oh, yes. Oh, no contest.
Maybe we can just go through a few of those villains real quick, and then we can get to Linda Carter if you want to. Like I said, I always roll my eyes at Underground Fight Club. I wasn't the biggest fan of Roulette. We didn't do anything new or interesting with that, I didn't think. But I liked the guy who played Mixoplague.
I really didn't care what it looked like.
I didn't need that episode, but like I like the guy who played him okay. And once again, like you compare it to Smallville's mix-up, like it's apples and oranges. It's not even the same character. But like I thought the way she beat him at the end was real classic comic book.
It was, and that's actually kind of true with a lot of stuff they did this year. Was they went in classic comic book feeling and owned it and wasn't like embarrassed and treated it like it was new. Which is the way you do this stuff. We were just talking about before we started recording, like, you know, introducing the material again, fresh for new eyes. This is what the show is doing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm hoping it's making a new generation of people fall in love with Martian Manhunter, because they just nail that character.
Yeah, man, I was really angry when I think it's David Goyer who was really slamming Martian Manhunter, calling him corny and why he's not in the DCEU. That made me furious, because I really love Martian Manhunter, and to see him, especially in this season, just shine, it's gorgeous. I absolutely, like, you know, and he's like fighting alongside Superman in some scenes. Like, this is like Justice League. This is great.
Yeah, it's great. And I don't know where they found that actor. I don't know where that guy came from. I've never seen him in anything else. But he's got like a real unique affect to him. Whenever he does that growly voice, I get really excited.
Mm-hmm.
I love Martian Manhunter's growly voice.
Yes.
And then when he's Hank Henshaw and he's Cyborg Superman, I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying
Cyborg Superman, yeah.
Whenever he's Hank Henshaw, he does the growly voice all the time.
Yeah,
it's great.
He's Christian Bale with the other guy.
He's so much fun. It sounds like a thing you would have to voice modulate, but they don't with him. He just can do that voice. It's amazing.
Acting, yes.
Yeah.
And he has such a nice, quiet dignity, and kind of like, when he's like just at peace with himself in some small scenes, and then he could go, you know, turn it around, just go huge like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. We were talking about special effects. One thing that does limit them really hard, of course, is how difficult making that look good is.
Mm-hmm. And
it looks fine for television, certainly, whenever they're doing it.
Yeah.
But they have to contrive silly ways to keep him in human form as long as possible. And that becomes kind of like unintentionally laughable sometimes, where like he's knocked unconscious and he's lying in a bed, and they don't want to have to CG that, so he's in human form, even though he shouldn't be able to keep that.
Yeah, you'd think his default would be the Martian form.
Yeah, so they keep contriving that, and it's almost worse with Miss Martian.
Yeah.
Where like she's in human form way more often than I would think that she would be. It's just the limitations of the budget and the special effects. I mean, I don't want to dog on it too hard, but it is a thing that takes me out, so I felt the need to mention it.
It's one of the things that, you know, I don't know, I kind of expect. So it's like, you know, on a TV budget, you know, that's what they do. But it is kind of funny to think of it like, because like that's like knocking me out and I have a sucked in gut the whole time.
Exactly.
But yeah. No, that's the default is the gut out.
And you can also put this in the nitpick category if you want to, but again, it's a thing that took me out a little bit, and I just didn't really understand why we were doing it. I didn't buy that these characters would be saying this. Once they all know, and it's public knowledge that he's Martian Manhunter, there's no reason whatsoever anyone should ever call him Hank.
I suppose so.
And like Hank Henshaw is a terrible person. And it's just really strange to me that they continue calling him that. And frankly, there's also no reason he should still be in that form, except that actor's awesome and we gotta keep him.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's become his form, but I'm fine with the form, but you're right. Like, they keep calling him Hank.
Be calling him Hank. Yeah.
He's got another real name. His name is John. You could call him John.
And most people are calling him John, but every now and again they say Hank, and I'm like, but he's not Hank.
Wow, how confusing would you be if you were like a casual viewer and didn't know much about this character?
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely. Who the hell is this guy? Is he Hank or John or Martian Manhunter? Is that his brother? Who is this? Oh, that's the real guy? Man, comic books are confusing.
So you were talking about characters that are given a lot of dimension, and then or villains that are given a lot of mention, and then the more just kind of comic book mustache twirly ones. Obviously, Lillian is one of those two.
Yes.
And she is female Lionel Luthor, and then they do a flashback, and they show us that her husband was Lionel Luthor, and she's just female Lionel Luthor, and I kind of love that.
I do, and boy,
I kind of think that's great. I know you're not a Superman fan, but I'm sorry, I know you're not a Smallville fan, but they threw me a couple of Smallville bones this season, and that were a lot of fun for me. Just being an old fan of that show, because because I don't know if you noticed it, but it's Luthor Corp before it's L Corp, instead of Lex Corp, and that's a Smallville thing. It was never Luthor Corp before Smallville.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So we did some fun things like that, and I hope we somehow or rather get more with the guy who played Lionel, because he seemed like he could be really cool. He reminded me, like, he doesn't have like the red mane or anything, but he reminded me a little bit of Death of Superman era Lex, and I think he might have even had an accent. He might have even had an Australian or a British accent, but I don't recall. I'm not sure. It was a little bit weird that their Lex was just had brown hair, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real important, but I want to think he was wearing a wig. That's what I want to think, is that he had a wig on.
Maybe. But, when Lex's father walks into that one scene, that's the only scene he's in the whole season.
It's one scene, yeah.
Yeah, he looks like somebody who has some history to him, the way he's portrayed, the way he portrays the... And you know what? When he first walks in...
Real mysterious. It's cool.
He does, yeah. He plays every word really interestingly. And he walks in, I go, oh my god, he looks like Lex Luthor from the Luthor biography book. You know, the...
Yes!
Remember that cover?
Yeah, except he's not fat.
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. But yeah, he looked just like that version. Like, oh my god.
But yeah, I kind of wonder, how much more we're gonna deal with Lillian, and if we're gonna keep doing that. Lena trying not to become her mother and have her mother on screen much kind of thing. It goes without saying, I would like to see them cast Lex like they cast Superman.
We might get that, we might get, sort of like what they were doing with Superman, where we get glimpses of Superman. He's sort of the Mrs. Columbo, and then we get to see him full on. Maybe we'll get that out of Lex. Maybe we'll actually see Lex in season 3 or season 4.
Because I feel like the next thing Lillian does is break him out of prison.
Yeah, because I think
she's real obsessed with her golden boy. I kind of dug that. And actually bringing Superman physically in has helped the show a lot to not feel as much like just Supergirl doing all the Superman stuff. I thought last season kind of had that problem real hard, where we kind of had female Zod. Like this season, okay, we have female Lex, but we also have Lex. I mean, he's in the background, but we talk about him, and she's not the same character, and and I mean, history may repeat itself, but it might do it in an interesting and poetic way. I feel like it would be kind of disingenuous of the show to just do all the Superman stuff, but with girls this time. I think they've done a better job this season of maybe getting a little bit away from that. I mean, certainly most of our like a lot of our villains are women, and a lot of the major throwdowns and stuff have been with girls. I don't think that's a problem, but I don't want it to just feel like cloning everybody in Superman and making them girls this time.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's felt like that this season. No. I think being able to use Superman just opens it up, because I gotta tell you, last season, it did feel like they were a little bit handcuffed, because maybe they couldn't use Superman for the rights issues or whatever that you could feel them figuring out how to get around Superman. So they don't have to do that this season, which definitely improved everything.
Let me ask you a question, and
Sure.
I don't know if you'll have what I did with this, and I'm kind of going back and forth on it. I also just watched that last episode today, but do you feel like Superman was maybe thrown a little bit under the bus in the last episode?
Not really. I didn't get that. Granted, this is after Superman versus Batman, so that almost felt like a love letter.
Well, I don't even... Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I don't mean necessarily because she beat him in a fight.
Yeah.
I do have to question that a little bit, just because I feel like he would be a lot more experienced. And, certainly, And I mean, I don't want to play the who would win in a fight game, but I'm just saying that, like, when you have a Superman that's been operating for this long and she's still relatively new, yeah, he's on silver kryptonite, but they make a big deal out of, oh, he's not weakened at all, and he thinks he's got his faculties about him. He just thinks he's fighting the wrong person, like thinking he's fighting Zod. And I mean, I guess I want to like the fact that she was able to beat him with his faculties together, sort of, and being at full strength. I don't know if I buy it, though.
Well, here's the thing that I got out of that, and this goes all the way back to the first season of the show, where Kara had, like, watched over him on Krypton and was going to go to Earth to take care of him. She always had this kind of, like, maternal feeling towards Kal-El. And
that was her job. She was charged with doing that.
She was charged with doing that. And she gets to Earth, and all time thingies had messed up. So now she was the younger one, and she felt really out of place. And this person that she was trying to mentor is now mentoring her, and she really feels kind of out of whack about it. And that's what we dealt with quite a bit in season 1, is her trying to find her own place again. And I was talking about this a little bit, about coming full circle, picking that up in season 2. And in a way, this is a Superman, like, kind of like giving her permission to be, that figure again, like passing the torch in a way to the younger, older character. Oh, like I said, comic books are weird.
Yeah.
So I that's what I got of that. And I think he knows that. I think he knows that's something she's been going through.
No, that's fair. I just felt like we were laying on really thick. She is now stronger than he is, and I don't know if they quite earned that, and I just don't know if I buy that she actually would be able to beat him in a fight like that. That's all. It seemed like a thing we really wanted to do, and I don't know if we quite got there. I don't know if it was earned. I also have major reservations about his I don't know if I could do that if Lois was in the same situation speech, because I don't think it's the same situation.
Yeah, he would do it. He would. That's one of those things where you go, I don't know if I could do that, and then when the time comes, you can do it. But
okay, but let me break this down real fast.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's not the same situation as what he's describing.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost too disingenuous to himself, right? Where he says, what she does is real noble, but he's giving her a little bit too much credit. Where he's like, if it was down to Lois and the Earth, I don't know if I could pick the Earth over Lois. And I'm like, that's not exactly what it was with Mon-El, though, because first of all, they thought there was a good chance that he would survive it.
I suppose.
You know what I mean? Like you weren't, because there's that whole talk with Wynn about the lead. And about how they're not sure, but they think that because he's been in our atmosphere a lot longer, he's got a better chance than they do, so they can maybe at least get him off planet or something, which is ultimately what they managed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that it's exactly the same situation. And also, it's like her relationship with Mon-El is not exactly comparable to Superman and Lois.
Well, that's obviously true, but I mean, he's trying to help her out. He's trying to relate to her, and he's trying to tell her, hey, look, I know you think I can do all these things, but if I was in that situation,
if that's just a motivational speech, I'm totally cool with it.
That's what I think.
If it's the show saying that look how much better Supergirl is than Superman, I resist that.
No, I didn't take it that way.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, I didn't.
I'm just saying I wasn't sure on a first watch, and I kind of resist that if that's what they're saying.
Because he told that to her, and
sure,
he's trying to cheer her up and kind of motivate her properly. So yeah, I'm thinking about some of the things I would say if I was in Superman's place. Yeah, if that was coming from another source, then yeah, but it wasn't.
Well, and you're right in that there are other characters that will say things to motivate people or manipulate them that the show isn't necessarily saying. Like there's that whole speech that Cat Grant has to Rhea. About we all know how much better women are than men, and I don't know that the show is necessarily pandering to an audience there. I think that's just something she's saying to try to change Rhea's mind or something.
Well, yeah, I think that's a lot of what Cat Grant had. Like, she instinctively understood this character once she saw her.
And she is a master manipulator.
Yeah. So I think that came in handy. And it was well used to bring her back at that point. I thought that was good writing.
Yeah, contriving her on the airplane was hilarious. I can't even hate it. It was really funny.
It was a bit like, what the hell is she doing on the plane? Okay,
Let's use that to segue into Linda Carter, because I know you were really, really excited about her playing the president.
Oh, dude. That was, like, perfect casting. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to watch the second season or not. You know, I got other things.
Oh, really?
Linda Carter.
You weren't even sure if you were going to keep up with it. Wow.
Well, I liked it. It was one of those things where, like, yeah, I like the show, but I got other things to do. And it was like, oh, Linda Carter's on the show. Okay, forget it. Because one of the things about, and I may have mentioned this to you in the past, like, sometimes when I see a president in a movie or a TV show, I can't help but wonder, because I'm also a political junkie, how that president gets elected. Like, what would that character be like in an election, and how they would handle things? Like the William Sadler, I think it's William Sadler, who plays the president in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, that's great.
I can't see that guy getting elected. I mean, that guy, that's the kind of guy that, like, loses in the primaries. Linda Carter, I see getting elected. And
I don't know. I get the sense that guy is actually secretly really devious, and he just wasn't the bad guy of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I get the sense that he's shady too. But I mean, he just doesn't seem like a charming enough person to win an election like that.
That's fair.
And I see that occasionally with actors playing presidents, like the president in X-Men 3. It's like, how did that guy
get elected?
Yeah.
One of the best on-screen presidents ever, and I know you didn't watch the show, was Palmer in 24. Like, I see him getting elected tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. That guy was good. See, that's what awesome. I'm talking about. And Linda Carter is amazing, and she's so charismatic, and she walks into every scene like, "Hey, I'm Linda Carter, damn it." Like,
and I like things about how she was portrayed. I like Linda Carter, obviously, and she knows what show she's in. She gets pretty over the top at the end, and it's that show, and it works. But she's I like that she's portrayed as a president who knows how to, like, get things done and make compromises, and she's that president that says, yeah, no, I know your friends are on that shit, but if we don't blow it up, they're gonna destroy the country, so blow it up.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that she was able to make, you know, those hard calls.
Yes, and she's secretly an alien refugee. I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing I don't like.
I was wondering what they were going to do with it, and
then it was nothing.
And then it was nothing, although maybe they might develop it further in season 3. They didn't do.
Well, yeah, but what would that even mean? Like, she comes out and just says, "Oh, I'm also a refugee, and my planet got blown up, so I have things in common with the other, like, good guy aliens in the show."
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like that. Because if you were gonna do that, you might as well reveal it early on. Like, they keep doing tells, like, a couple times throughout the season, where they try to make her look like a really scary alien.
Yeah.
And it ends up being the exact same kind of reveal Martian Manhunter was.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes, they did the exact same thing.
It's the same thing, except it's not a cool comic character, and it's the same thing. And, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad because it's not anybody we've heard of, but I don't know why it was needed to be a reveal or why we had to wait all season to find. Like, it really feels like they wrote themselves into a corner and they weren't real sure what they were going to do with it. And then when they got there, they were like, "Oh, we gotta wrap this up. What is it? She's another alien refugee." Like, it wasn't interesting, and I thought what they were setting up, because I was doing all kinds of speculation early on where I was like, okay, this seems really interesting. If she's a bad guy alien, then she has managed to get herself into the White House and then get this legislation signed to make life easier for her and to manipulate people that are idealistic and have the best of intentions but are oversimplifying things. And it's just not interesting once we find out what she is.
Well, here's the thing. I was actually rooting for her not to be evil.
I was rooting for her to act. Okay, what I thought was going to happen was that there was actually a real President Carter or Linda Carter somewhere.
Yeah. By the way, you know what a real...
This was an alien that took her that took her place.
Yeah, it seems like she, like, created this personality, like, years ago, and has been living on the Earth.
Yeah, and she's cheating because she wasn't born here, and that's weird.
But let's see. So I don't know. It's just like, oh, please don't let her be evil. Like, I was like thinking that the whole season, like, let her be good, because like, the president is secretly evil. It's like, oh yeah, that's really new material.
I'm not saying it would have been brilliant or anything. I'm just saying it doesn't match with what they set up and with the thematic ideas of the season, where they're showing you the two sides to a lot of different issues dealing with intolerance. And wouldn't it have been more interesting? I think it would have been more interesting if that had ended up being a story about someone who manipulated good people with the best of intentions to put in some idiotic legislation that makes it too easy for bad guys to do bad things to people.
I don't know. I have to say, sometimes I wonder, like, were they making fun of like the conspiracy theories about Obama? For years.
Well, I think they might have been, except in this particular case, it would have been.
It would have been true, and
yeah.
But it would have been true.
And they're obviously doing lots of political commentary about all kinds. I mean, this whole season is about immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the biggest topic on everybody's lips right now?
I know, and the last two episode titles are called Resist and Nevertheless She Persisted, which I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
I'm pretty certain those weren't the titles at the beginning of the writing season.
They may not have been, and I have to say that, like, all that is obviously kind of on the nose and heavy-handed, but it's nice that the show is still fun.
Yeah, and
like it's doing all that stuff, and again, like, sometimes it's real obvious where it's kind of preaching to the choir, and it's like, you guys are with us on this, right? It's like, I don't know who you're really talking to, except just to do some commentary and say this is what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But at least I still enjoyed myself.
Well, it's very apt of the times that we're living in right now. Once again, to you future people listening to this, and I love the way how they've been able to kind of, like, through metaphor in the story lines, several storylines in the show, really talk about what's going on. If I had a nitpick about that, is sometimes they use the dialogue to hammer it in. Like, look, I'm watching you prove that point in your story. I get it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Because that is my biggest complaint about that kind of stuff. Is just have it there.
Yeah, it's like, I'm watching you tell me. I get it. My mind. I'm an intelligent person, so I understand what you're saying. So you don't need this extra line to, like. Although, to be honest, maybe they do. Some people are not that with it. But so, like, okay, whatever. I mean, I don't think they need to do it. But it's a minor complaint. Like, they did.
Well, and if they do need to do that kind of thing, Manos,
to
hammer points home, like, who are they really influencing, and whose minds are they really changing?
Yeah, that's true. I guess so. Maybe they should. Maybe they should leave them in the dark.
Well, I know that's not what I mean. I just mean that those people probably aren't thoughtful to be actually thinking about those things anyway.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be just as annoyed as those of us that feel like we're being talked down to.
I don't know how.
Where they're like, "Oh, leave this stuff out of my fiction. I just want to escape the superhero stuff."
It's funny. How many times do you hear people talk about something we've all grown up with, and somebody does an article about, like, what it's really about thematically? And you go, oh my God, I'm so dumb. I didn't even see that. Like, every so often, and that's the fun of fiction.
And you don't want to see stuff like, where somebody has a read where maybe it wasn't even intended, and you're like, oh yeah, but it's there.
Yeah.
In that grade, no, and you can't have that with a thing like this because it's kind of shoving it in your face.
Yeah, and
again, I still really enjoyed myself, and the story overall is much better than last season. And it's not, and last season had that problem more than this season does.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
It's just every so often they kind of pull a James Cameron where it's like, yeah, I don't need that line telling me your whole point for the last 2 hours. I get it.
Well, I mean, you hit my biggest complaint, like.
Well, thank you.
But it's something it doesn't kill it, but
no, not hardly at all.
But I can see why people would turn it off over it.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, people want to be, complain about everything.
Well, no, I'm just saying that I understand, but I don't want to be talked down to, and I can see people that might not give a show like this a chance if they just started watching it when they feel like they feel like they're being talked down to.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
It was something I picked up every once in a while. I didn't feel too talked down to because it really didn't happen too often. Oh, it did happen every so often that I'd go, okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that would be my point on that. And hey, one more thing about Linda Carter is like she plays. I didn't even pick this up until the last episodes. Like, oh my God, her name is President Olivia Marston. Like, you're killing me. You're just killing me. That's so beautiful. Like they named her after Wonder Woman's creator. I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Once again, like I jumped up like a doofus. This movie had me. Not movie. Excuse me. This TV show, especially when we got to the end and the stories are converging. This literally had me like excited, at the edge of my seat, and like cheering and sighing in the ways that some of the DC movies had been wanting to make me feel and failing.
No, that's absolutely right. Well, and like its biggest triumph for me in that department, in the heartfelt department, is that, and some people might be surprised when I say this, I will go on record to say that through most of the season, I was not the biggest fan of Mon-El, but I would be lying if I were to say that I didn't tear up a little bit at the end.
Oh yeah, I
did.
Yeah,
and I don't even like him, but I did. Well, and they started to get away from the kind of like jock bro dude thing in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that as soon as the show becomes about him, he gets to be more of a character? That's kind of irritating. Like he's and I think his arc is pretty good. This is another nitpick. It would have been nice to have gotten a costume for him. There was talk about a costume, never happens. It would have been nice to see what that would have been.
I would have liked a costume. If we get to see him again, if he's able to come back,
well, sure.
It would be nice to see a costume.
I'm saying that assuming that we don't see him again. That's dumb. He got sucked into a vortex. That means he's coming back. He'll probably come back evil, but he's going to come back.
Yeah. So.
And we should talk about that. Sorry, there's a couple other things we need to hit. But since I'm at the ending, let me ask you this. So, what is with the evil spaceship, and do you think they did the same thing? Do you think they did the same thing that they did with Mon-El, where they just put somebody in a ship and they don't know who it is yet?
Maybe, that happens.
Well, that's what they did with Mon-El. They were like, somebody's in that ship, we don't know who it is yet.
Yeah.
And they clearly I didn't give that even enough thought when they brought him in, because one of my biggest irritations, and I talked about this early on this year, was. His name is Mon-El, and there's no explanation for that, and it's so weird, and I don't like it. Like, he has her house name, he's a Daxamite, no one ever talks about it. Everybody's like, wait, your name is something L? How did that No one ever brings that up, so I hope they have a little bit more forethought with it this time, but do you think they have a plan, and who do you think it is?
I don't know. With the also the evil space baby,
that's what I'm saying.
Evil Space Baby, I don't know. Because Lindsay was like asking me like, who is that? Like, do you know who that is? Like, I don't know who that is. I'm not the best at Superman lore. I know I can get.
I have a guess.
Okay.
I don't know if it's my first thought is the thing I think it is. I wouldn't think that they would think that this would be worthy of a whole season big bad.
Yeah.
But then again, they put Mon-El in a spaceship, and nobody watching that show probably knew who that was except for comic book fans.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they would do this. If they did it on purpose, the only tell we know it's not Zod because Superman has clearly fought Zod before.
Yeah.
And if it turned out to be Zod, that would be really strange, and also that would mean that he was part of some crazy blood cult. I think it's the Eradicator.
Theories right now.
Man,
I would only have
sorry,
really.
You cut out on me.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I missed the last couple of things that you said. The reason I'm guessing Eradicator is because they say rain, And he's of course part of the Reign of the Superman. That's the best, and he's Kryptonian. But that's the best I can come up with, is that he's their version of Eradicator.
Though that's as good a theory as I could ever come up with. So I'm gonna agree with you.
And I would love to see Eradicator in the show. I like him a lot, but I also would have loved to have seen something closer to actual Cyborg Superman in the show, and that ended up being really lame. So
yeah, well, you take your good with your bad.
No, absolutely you do, but you gotta understand that, like, that's a villain I like a lot.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about that. And from the first episode, we've got Hank Henshaw. Like, you've been seeding Cyborg Superman for over a year, and what we get is a guy with just a thing. Like, he doesn't even look like he's half robot. He looks like he's got like a robot thing stuck to his head. It's really weird. Like, you could walk over and pull it off his head, and he just calls himself Cyborg Superman, and he's not wearing a Superman costume. I don't know why he thought of it or why he's calling himself that. And I've heard people say, see, that's like the brilliant, hilarious cheese factor in the show, and I'm like, I think that one's going a little too far, especially because you've got Dean Cain in the show, and you kind of dropped a breadcrumb early in the season to make me think that Dean Cain was going to get to be Cyborg Superman, and how dare you do that and then not make Dean Cain Cyborg Superman?
Oh yeah,
that bothers me. I don't know if you noticed it, but early on, Lillian Luthor has this line where when she kidnaps Alex.
Oh yeah, I caught that line.
You remember that line?
That's a great line.
Like,
I love it.
Yeah, except it doesn't pay off, because she's like, oh, you wouldn't want to see him the way he is now. You should remember him the way he was. And then when we see him, he's just who he was.
Yeah.
Like, that's really unfortunate. I was very sad about it. There was every reason to think that they could have done like a mind transfer thing with Henshaw and put him in Dean Cain's body or something. I mean, I think it's a real missed opportunity. You could have done some fun things with it. And these people clearly love their Superman lore. You'd think that the reason they put Hank Henshaw in the first episode was because they were excited, or at least his name, because it's not actually Hank Henshaw, would be because they were excited to do Cyborg Superman. I don't know. It kind of depresses me. I mean, I know this is stuff that you're not a fan of like I am, but
no.
That's my childhood. Like BVS is terrible, and I teared up at the end just because they even attempted Death of Superman. Some people again might find what I'm saying to be somewhat nitpicky, but that's sad, and also it's going too far in the goofy direction to have a dude that's not even wearing a Superman costume call himself Cyborg Superman.
I think, it's too much of a nod to the character. Like, if you're not going to have him in the Superman suit, then maybe he shouldn't call himself. And it's the same
thing with Mon-El, where they're like, well, that has to be his name because that's what it is in the comics. Well, you need a real in-universe explanation, because what you're doing doesn't make sense.
I know. Actually, I like your idea, to be honest. That kind of sounds cool.
Yeah. I thought that's part of why you cast Dean Cain in the first place, and then had him stuck in a crazy evil science experiment for 20 years.
Oh well. I mean, I still like what they did, but I really do like your idea as well.
No, and he has fun with it, and it's fun to see that guy. He's just not Hank Henshaw.
That's true. Do you know what that? I don't know what that actor's name is who plays.
No, I should look it up. I keep saying that guy.
I know, he's really good.
With the really cool growly voice, he's so good. I wanted Martian Manhunter to get spun off from Smallville because I also liked that Martian Manhunter a lot, but this guy also deserves his own show.
Yeah, he just nails this. I almost, I don't know. I would compare this Martian Manhunter to the one from Justice League cartoon. I like him a lot.
His name is David Harewood.
David Harewood, okay. Yeah, I've never seen him before, and he's really captivating. All right, so blah blah blah. Where are we here? Where else do you want to go?
Well, we are well over an hour, but there are a couple of other kind of big things we haven't mentioned yet, so maybe we can go to a couple things. And I don't mean to complain too much. There are just some things that irritated me I wanted to talk about, but like I said, it's much better than last year.
No, I don't think you've been hard on it. I think you've been pretty balanced on it.
Oh, okay. I know you really liked it, and I didn't want you to feel like I was attacking you or anything.
I did not. What am I, 12? I don't. Yeah, I can have a conversation about this.
Yes, Manos, you're 12. So here's a character I thought I would hate and ultimately found really endearing: Snapper Carr.
Oh yes, thank you.
Snapper Carr totally worked. And early on I had some reservations, especially about like the way he and Jimmy Olsen were going back and forth, because I thought Jimmy was actually kind of wrong on his side, and the episode kind of took his side. But man, I was really impressed that I actually, and we were talking about like social commentary with political things going on right now.
Yeah.
Oh, the media is a big thing.
Yeah.
And dealing with like what the Fourth Estate, really actually is supposed to be, and what like real unbiased journalism is. And I thought they nailed that by the end.
Thank you for bringing up Snapper, because I was going to forget, and I remembered I wanted to talk about him earlier, and I totally just completely forgot about him. This version of Snapper Carr is a good example of not paying attention to the source material and actually coming up with something better.
Really?
Yeah, I really like this version of Snapper Carr. And what's interesting is he does come off, like you said, like really gruff and antagonistic, and you think, he's going to look just like a pain in the butt bad guy, like a Jonah Jameson or something like that. But when he comes to I don't want to say come to blows, because it's just, they just argue. When we have arguments with Kara about her stories, I usually sided with him, actually.
Yeah. You're supposed to.
Because he was...
That's her learning, like, some real critical thinking skills.
Yeah, he was right. Like, when you write an article, you're supposed to, as unbiased as you can, and let the reader make up their mind. He had several different, like, points throughout the seasons. Like, yeah, this guy, okay, he's kind of a rough jerk, but he's also, at the end, he says he'd been rooting for her this entire time because he did get a sense that, like, she really cares about the truth, and she really cares about, bringing people to justice, which is something he felt. And I like the fact that they kind of come together at the end like that, too. Like, they didn't, like, they had a legitimate beef with each other. And, of course, he can't know everything, because he can't know why she's publishing this article. Outside of his magazine, but he has. Let's say she wasn't Supergirl, he would have a legitimate beef to be that mad.
Yeah, and I mean, there were certainly places where I was like, where I felt like they were throwing her under the bus a little bit, where I didn't buy her being emotionally ready to do the job she was doing, but only because they were writing it too far in the, like, she's acting kind of entitled direction. And by the end, I thought it totally worked.
Yeah, I got the sense
he's my favorite new addition to the cast, honestly. By the end, and we got to know him a little bit, and like his whole thing about Danishes, I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I liked that character.
We also should talk a little bit about Guardian.
Yes.
And James Olsen. So the idea of putting him in that suit and having him be a vigilante during the season, I thought was really cool. And moving forward, I'm sure we'll do more stuff with it. Two things about it. One, and I talked about this earlier when I was doing my solo videos, but it was a little bit. It was too much of like a jarring move in getting us away from the romance we spent so much time last season getting to, only for them to go, only for Carr to go, I'm not interested in you, mostly because the writers need me not to be. So that was kind of problematic. And also, I just bought them as a couple more than I did her and Mon-El for the most part, until, it's better by the end. But anyway, but the other thing is, do you agree with me when I say that it took him, that it's weird that it took the season, I don't want to say him, it's weird that it took the season as long as it did to finally talk about the kind of example he was setting for people? Because it's real late in the game when he finally goes, oh no, I'm scaring people, I want to be a beacon of hope like Supergirl. I'm like, you guys just realized you should have done that episodes ago.
Yeah, maybe color up the suit a little bit instead of all the black, and gray and stuff like that. Oh, and the scary voice. Wow, one of the things I like so much about his Guardian is this: he does the scary voice and occasionally breaks character in the voice, which I absolutely, God, that was great. Like he meets Cat Grant, she knows who he is, which is amazing. Like she just sees his eyes and knows it's him, which almost destroys every superhero construct ever.
It didn't work until the end of the episode.
Yeah.
If Cat Grant doesn't say Supergirl when Carr walks away, that doesn't work.
I know. That was one of the things that bugged me about last season. It's like, come on.
Well, and what that probably means is that, and they did that stupid thing last year, right?
Yeah.
Where she finds out and then she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because of some goofy contrivance, and that was, I think, they're throwing us a bone saying, no, she knew the whole time and she was just trying to help Carr out. Yeah. I like that a lot.
I like thinking it that way. Like, she was like, okay, I see what you're doing.
Well, otherwise, when else did she figure it out? I mean, that means that she was dumb for a minute, and then later she figured it out.
Yeah, I think
she knew the whole time.
I think she did. No, I think she knew the whole time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I hope so.
I don't.
But you said you have to think of it that way. God, I hope that's what it's intended to be. Because.
Well, let's retrofit that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like she saw, like, okay, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. Oh yeah. I suppose you're not Supergirl. Ha ha ha.
And she's manipulative like that. She does that kind of thing all the time.
Yeah, it seems like in her character she would do. Yeah. But I got the sense of giving Jimmy Olsen the Guardian persona to play around with this season was just to give something for that actor as Jimmy, and to give Jimmy something to do this year, because we dropped him from the romance. So it's like, well, and Wynn is over in the DOE, and Cat Grant is gone for most of the season. Like, they wouldn't have had, without Guardian, they really wouldn't have had much for him to do this year.
Well, here's the thing. I know that's their thought process.
Yeah.
I don't 100% agree with that, because I think you could have done interesting things with what happens when Jimmy Olsen runs a corporate empire. And I think it's really they gave him too much to do, right? Like, I don't buy that he's going out and being Guardian and running Cat Grant's empire.
Yeah. Well, and
so they shoved too much on him. Like, if they were going to do the Guardian thing, they needed to give that to give that to somebody else.
Well, it almost feels like Snapper Carr takes a lot of what he could have done in the season. You're
right.
Be Kara's boss and stuff like that, and go to.
Oh, well, that's true. And actually, Jimmy could have had all the points that he did.
Yeah.
And actually, that could have been the thing that ruined the romance. I mean, that could have been really interesting.
Especially after the romance, and then kind of butting heads business-wise.
Well, they try the romance, and that's what wrecks it.
That's true. I mean, either one of those ideas could work.
Sure, yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not trying to rewrite the show. I just don't know if I'm buying that guy is able to run what is able to do what Cat Grant does, and also go out and be a vigilante. And you can say, oh, Batman does it, yeah, but like he's at trading, and he doesn't, usually really run his company that much.
Yeah, I know he does. He fake runs it. And
he fake runs it. Yeah, like Jimmy Olsen's actually there all day. When does that man sleep?
I guess never.
Never.
Well, he's still kind of young. Like, when I was 30, I could do that.
Yeah. That struck me as overcompensation.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, I like both of those ideas, but I don't buy them together.
Yeah, that's true. But, with that said, I think they did, a pretty decent job doing.
Oh, but the Guardian-Wynn friendship is one of the best things.
It was, that was actually probably the genius thing to make Wynn his microchip.
I thought, and I thought the way it got started was really believable, and like those two felt like real people.
Yes.
Like the you can't go out there, you're gonna die speech is really good.
Yes, and when that moment happens, when he experiences just a one-on-one, life-threatening moment with a criminal, which is a regular criminal. And he has that kind of PSD moment where it's like, whoa, no, I'm done.
Yes. that was great. I don't know. I thought both of those characters were ultimately really layered, and I also thought that they could have easily ruined Wynn by giving him a romance, and that didn't happen.
No, yeah. I mean, some of the stuff they did this year could have been really badly handled, and
it's also nice to see a show where where romances get to blossom and like characters can be together for more than 5 episodes.
I know, and there's only a couple of scenes in this season where people stormed off mad, which is a CW writing technique. Like, well, what do we do with this couple? Oh, let's see. Let's have one get really super mad for no reason and storm off like a teenager.
I was going to say, and every now and again, they even had reasons for doing it.
Yes. I mean, maybe, I guess, Maggie and Alex had a couple of those kind of CW moments.
They did. No, they absolutely... And they were clearly kind of that CW couple this season.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't expect them to be together at the end.
I would... Yeah, you're right. And they actually got, engaged. Well,
Which maybe that was rushed. I can't decide. I felt that way about a few things this season, where like it's really, as you say, it's pretty tightly written for this kind of a show, and we get a whole lot done, and it's really dense. So on the one hand, I want to say that certain things are kind of rushed, and on the other hand, God, we got a lot done.
We did.
So like maybe some of that's okay, but like. I really bought Maggie's initial reason for not dating her, and kind of didn't want them to get together that fast.
That was actually really believable.
Her fresh off the boat speech, I was like, okay, but then you guys can't get together too quick. And then they did, and I'm just not sure how I feel about that.
At least they gave us that kind of hesitation. At least they gave us that, because that actually was very believable. Where it's like, wait, you didn't even know you were gay last week, and now you want to hook up.
Yeah, and I like what she said about like right now everything is new.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that was all pretty good.
Yeah.
But then they actually do, get together, and I was like, well, Maggie, I'm not sure I buy that you're taking this risk, because it's not just about the fact that that Alex is just now realizing what her sexuality is. It's also the fact that you just went through a really bad breakup, and you don't want this person to be your rebound girl.
Mm-hmm. And they did something a little interesting. I saw what they kind of did there, where they had what was going on in their relationship mirroring what was going on in Supergirl and Mon-El's relationship, where one was keeping some information away from the other.
But also where one was discovering themselves.
Yeah.
And the other one was more of a veteran.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you have the veteran, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, you have the veteran homosexual in that she's known it for longer and she's had experience, and then you have the veteran superhero.
Yeah. So yeah, people have been kind of there and used to their life, and the other is kind of, you're right, a newcomer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think of that parallel before you said it.
And actually, I think that correct me if I'm wrong, didn't that moment with Maggie and Alex finding out about the ex-girlfriend, didn't that happen before Kara finds out about Mon-El?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so I guess I think that was their way of foreshadowing.
They're mirroring that to all. Yeah, and it probably is like the next episode or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's like, hey,
it's probably right there. Yeah. And I mean, like as a lot of these shows feel the need to do a lot, really everything after Whedon, you can't have a relationship with your main character for too long without it ending tragically. But I like that it was, a tragic ending and not just like a tragic in that it was circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like Illyria in Angel, where we've been waiting for like seasons and seasons for these characters to finally get together, and then they finally do, and then we kill her off. With this, I mean, he could come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might ultimately later on be okay, and other couples that I cared more about got to be together, so that was kind of exciting. I thought ultimately the Miss Martian thing was kind of endearing, and again you've got all these examples of people who don't have to be evil just because other people in their circles are.
Yeah.
So and I really like that you had other good white Martians.
I know, that's the first time I've seen good white Martians, and
I mean, they're giant scary monster people, but they don't have to be evil just because they look evil.
Yeah, and that's actually going back to the point we were talking about with one of the big themes about being race and prejudice and intolerance is the fact that we get to see other sides of not just like the sides of the aliens trying to live among us. We get to see two sides of them. We get to see the sides of the Earthlings. We get to see the sides of the Luthors, the Daxamites, as well as the White Martians, which is like new to me. I've never seen like a non-evil White Martian before.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. Yeah, and that could have played sappier than it did.
And and it totally played straight. It did not feel like sugar-coated or anything like that.
And something else I really appreciate, you were talking about things being complex. So while the point, a lot of the point of the season is, just because you're not one of us doesn't mean we should hate and fear you. There's a lot of X-Men in this show, obviously, this season. But while that's true, it's also true that you're gonna have, some bad aliens. I don't know why so many aliens feel the need to live in National City. I don't know why National City has such an alien population. but with that complexity, I also appreciate the fact that some things just physically can't work out. You have limitations. So it's really nice that while you have some compatible relationships, like you have the Green Martian and the White Martian that figure out a way to work things out, and I mean, he's lucky that blood didn't kill him. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes.
But like the fact that it was turning him into a White Martian, I think is hilarious and super comic booky.
Yep.
But he's lucky that worked out. But I thought it was kind of bold of them at the end to make it so that physically Kara and Mon-El can't be together because, unfortunately, he's of the same race as all the bad guys, and that's a consequence of what they've done.
Yeah, and she's the one who ignited the bomb to boot. Also,
and like there's clearly a symbolic thing going on with Rhea having kryptonite in her.
Yeah.
Like this species is like repelling or is repelled by Kryptonians. It's not actually true, but that's like the physical representation of that idea. And then Kara makes that have to happen in order to beat her.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Wow, I really like this season.
Yeah. No, there's some stuff there. It's pretty good. Any other bits you want to make sure we talk about?
Hey, Lindsay, is there anything I've forgotten to talk about? Anything like you're sitting there going, God, why won't we talk about that? Okay, I think I've done it. I think we've done it.
Well, that was fun. We covered an entire season in an hour and a half. There's like I said, it's pretty dense. There's quite a bit there.
Oh yeah. Like, hey, what was President Marston thinking, flying right into the spaceships?
Some days you just give a fuck.
Like, okay, I'm going to take Air Force One that has no weapons on it. I'm going to smash it into this alien spaceship.
That's a great point. What was she doing?
Smash. I think she was gonna Battleship Yamato with it, like boom, right into it.
Did she really think that just having Cat Grant on board was gonna be enough to solve that problem?
Yeah. Hey.
Like,
yeah.
No, we got our secret weapon here.
Yeah.
We got Cat Grant.
Yeah. Hey. Okay. Yeah, you alien invaders. Look, I got a magazine editor here. He's gonna yell at you.
Yeah. Celebrities keep asking her to marry them. She's gonna knock you right out of the sky.
That's like asking Helen Gurley Brown to take out Bin Laden. Like, go make him feel bad.
Well, anyway, so I guess that's going to be it for us today. Thanks a lot, folks, for listening, and leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of this season of Supergirl, and I certainly am looking forward to next season. One thing I do have to say real quick, because I meant to mention this earlier, that I'm a little bit concerned about, Manos, is I don't want this show to have the same problem Flash does, where every villain has to be a speedster. Like, I'm a little concerned that every threat has to come from Krypton.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a general concern with any Superman thing, really, but yeah, that is a legitimate concern.
I mean, it's not that we haven't had other threats. I mean, that's one thing that's nice is that we do have some other big bads that can at the same time come from other places. And okay, Daxam's not Krypton, but it might as well be. I mean, it's a sister planet. It's it's the same. It does feel like another evil Kryptonian plot.
A little bit, but it was different enough that they were able to kind of like discuss the theme of like intolerance and other cultures and stuff like that. So I could get it.
Now, I should mention that I also think there's a good chance that whatever the evil bloody space baby is Doomsday. I think they could do the Smallville Doomsday from Krypton thing again.
Could you say that again?
The evil bloody space baby.
Yeah. That's great.
It could be Doomsday, and there's been a lot of there was a lot of talk early on in this season when we introduced Superman that maybe we'll do a season of the show that is Death of Superman, and I can't tell you how much I want that.
We'll see. Hope. And well, here's the threat of that, though. Like,
I mean, do you think that would be cool? Like,
it would be
like killing off Hulkman's Superman and having her have to take over. Like, World Without Superman is what does Supergirl do now? I want that. I think that could be great.
Well, here's the thing about that. If they do that, then it's totally possible for them to keep Superman dead because this isn't his show, and
that's what I'm saying.
And he doesn't have a show. It's not like there's a a Superman show going on at the same time.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I like him. I'd like to see him more and keep being involved in the show. But at the same time, if you kill him off, then she can have the Superman rogues and stuff, and it doesn't feel like, oh, you're doing all the Superman stuff, but with Supergirl, like now she has to really step up.
Well, it would fit thematically with what they've been doing the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to see this Superman die because I really, really like this one, but...
But that's why you do, right? You actually like him, so you'll feel something when they do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying so this could work.
Yeah, so they totally should do that. At the same time, I don't know that I want Bloody Space Baby to be Doomsday, but...
But who knows?
But who knows? Well, anyway, especially because that probably means that he's just been like buried underground this whole time.
Oh man, God, yeah.
Because the thing is, where is that pod? And it was launched at the same time. And how many more pods were there?
As many seasons as we have.
That would be great. Every season, another pod launches.
Like, oh no, this one.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious.
Oh, Kal-El's dentist knew. Something was coming, so he made a spaceship.
Season 6 is Crypto the Superdog.
Yep, there you go.
Launched out of a rocket.
That's it.
It's like a dog rocket.
That's right. It was Jor-El's vet. Like, hey, I think this Jor-El has something here. I'm gonna send my dog.
Once again, folks, thanks for listening. And Manos and I'm sure we'll see you again soon with something else, and we're not going to cover season 3 as it happens. We'll come back and do probably another overview thing after that's over. We certainly will at least binge it, if not watch it some while it's on. So anyway, thanks for listening. I am Captain Logan,
and I'm the real Manos.
See you, folks.